Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Business Owners. This episode is unique, guys. We invited a local individual named Eric. He was a former police officer and was asked to do something that went against his faith. And he was eventually going to be let go and decided to resign and start a supplement company called Freedom Blends. You're going to hear a lot about his story in this episode, as well as his faith in God and some of his beliefs about the government. Some people would call him a conspiracy theorist. Other people would call him a truth teller. I'll let you decide by listening to today's episode. Keep an open mind and enjoy. How did this version of you come to be?
I was so ecstatic to work for Salt Lake City Police, and I had such a great career.
And for how many years?
7 years.
Yeah.
Never had been written up like through the internal affairs.
So did you believe that was going to be your thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
I'm going to hit my 20. Yeah. I'm going to go to another agency. Yeah. Whatever it was going to be.
Work your way up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just and working up. I don't know necessarily up. I just really liked doing what I did. Like I really liked serving and protecting people. I really loved my job. Mm-hmm. And then in 2014, they asked 5 of us, because I was on the motorcycle squad, they asked 5 of us to come in on a Sunday and they wanted us to participate in the LGBT parade. So it wasn't just like a protection, to keep their speech, right? Because I've done that before for that community. Yeah. They wanted us to lead the parade in our uniforms, doing the celebration circles with the motorcycles. Yeah. I was like, hey, I said,
synchronized swimming type shit, but on your motorcycle.
That's right. Yeah. So I was like, hey, I've got no problem protecting the parade, but I don't feel comfortable being in front of it looking like I'm an advocate for this because I'm not. And I said, I love all people. Anyway, under the table, I just switched spots with another cop. I was like, hey, will you be in the parade and I'll do your traffic assignment? He's like, no problem. An hour later, an email comes down the chain from one of the sergeants that says there will be no switching, which is unheard of. That goes, unheard of, because it goes against policy. Like my direct sergeant at the time got out of it entirely. So when I switched spots and I got that email, I sent an email back, very diplomatic. Hey, you got to understand, I love all people. I love gay people. I love but I do not advocate. Well, if you disagree, if you have any thought, you are literally on the same level as a racist. If you say, hey, I don't agree with that lifestyle theologically. Yeah. I love you, but I just don't believe in it. So now the state, all this stuff coming down in the school system, all this stuff coming through entertainment, this is a religion. And if you don't bow down to this new religion, you're out.
That's a good way to put it.
You're out. And it's actually part of the spiritual war that I can talk about. But long story short, they took my badge and my gun for discrimination because I did not want to participate in the LGBT parade. They threw me under the bus. They went to the media, said we don't tolerate bias, bigotry, or hatred in the organization before an internal investigation even happened. And the next Monday I resigned because I wasn't even going to, I knew it was over.
How did Freedom Blends come about?
Dude, I was driving.
Unique
okay,
thing.
So when I got out of law enforcement, it was really scary because I don't have, college education.
Yeah.
I don't have any of those.
What the hell now?
What am I going to do?
How old were you at that time?
33.
Ooh.
33.
Did you go through a little midlife crisis there? Like some dark
I still do sometimes, but
how old are you now?
I'm going to be 43.
Okay, so 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to be 43 in like a couple weeks. So the last thing that I ever wanted to do was knock doors, right? Because I had done that when I was really young and I hated it so bad.
On a mission?
No, just knock doors, like
cells. Like every young kid goes and knocks doors.
So I didn't want to do that. And I tried to stay in law enforcement and I just knew it wasn't the right path for me. I got a couple other jobs. I went to a software as a sales job. it wasn't, I just did not feel good about it. And then this guy hits me up like, hey, we're doing these solar sales. And I'm just like, so give me a break. Then I got hit up again by another dude in the same week, different guy. And then a third person came to me. And I just had this overwhelming feeling I got to get into that industry. And so I started knocking doors. And my first sale, I made like $2,500 on a commission. Dude, that was more money than like two weeks at the police department.
Yeah.
And I call my wife, I'm like, I just made this much money in an hour. And she's like, no way. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so I just set some goals. I said, I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to pay off my house. I'm going to do, I just set some goals. And for the next 4 years, I just worked my butt off. And I hated it. Like I hated pulling up into neighborhoods, knowing I've got to go and knock.
Yeah.
And so then I got into a position where I hit my goals, and I just had this idea because I loved, working out.
Yeah.
And I just had this idea, like I'm going to create a supplement company that's based on the principles of liberty. All these names started flooding in, And so I've got Kami Colon Cleanse, Sleep Off Socialism, First Amendment Multivitamins, Delaware Crossing Immune, Jefferson Juice Testosterone. I wish I would have known that you were here. I'm going to have to give you some.
That's funny.
So there's Jefferson Juice Testosterone.
That's cool.
And then
see the branding on it.
That is really cool.
freedomblends.com. And so I've got, my number one product is called Freedom Fuel, and it's all of your fruits and veggies organic.
Like the greens and stuff?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But it's all of your fruits and veggies organic with probiotics. One of them has energy, one of them doesn't.
I take probiotics.
Dude, you will love this.
I'm big probiotics.
So 3 of those. So basically.
You do probiotics every day?
Uh-huh.
Really? I've heard that you could overdo probiotics in terms of almost too much healthy bacteria in the gut to where it almost makes your stomach turn a little bit. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've heard.
Maybe to some people. I've been on this product for like 4 years.
And you've been fine?
I love it.
Well, I'll tell you this.
And it's just one every day. And I had colon cancer.
Oh, wow.
So
he needs that colon.
No. I've just noticed for me personally, I actually feel better when I'm on a probiotic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so
I just literally feel better.
So anyway, most people will get the bundle pack. I've got 3 different bundle packs. I've got one with and without energy. And then I've got both of them with energy. And that'll last one person.
When you say with energy, does that mean with caffeine?
Yeah. This one has a natural caffeine that's amazing. It's like 8 hours of energy, but without jitters or crash. Okay. That's my number one seller. With my stuff, like it just, when your body's getting real nutrients, it just doesn't crave after carbs and sugars nearly as much. And so that's what the Freedom Fuel does, is it gives your body nutrients, real organic nutrients. And then the energy's fantastic, dude. Yeah. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
Because it's like 8 to 10 hours of really good energy.
Good.
So now I'm in a position, now I got to figure out how to grow my company, because I've got I've proven the concept, but I've just...
How long have you been in business doing this?
It seems
5, 6 years, 7 years?
Maybe doing this specifically.
Yeah,
it seems like a little over 3 years now.
Okay.
So not too long.
Okay.
But I'm very thankful for the ability to, say I'm done with you. Like I'm not going to come and have a boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Ever again. Because because my speech, my words, the things that I say mean way more to me than a safety job.
Yeah. Yeah. So has this has obviously been able to replace incomes from knocking doors and, doing that. And with you speaking the way that you do on your social media freely about freedom, God, liberty, and some things that people would consider controversial, my guess is it's only supported and helped grow your brand more so than it's ever.
I target the patriots.
Yeah,
and people love that. I put a pocket constitution in my orders when I have them, and
that's cool.
It's like
some people. That's the biggest issue when you say, "Hey, well, use your voice." That's what we could do as business owners. The biggest issue with business owners is they don't want to use their voice because they don't want to lose a customer, right? Like Michael Jordan back in the day, the Democrats said, hey, we want you to speak. And he said, well, Republicans buy shoes too, is what he said. In other words, like, I'm going to make my money. He didn't want to speak in one way or the other because he wanted to stay neutral, because he wanted to make his money. And that's obviously was his choice. But if you value, in other words, freedom or liberty 2 years, 5 years, 15, 20 years down the road, do you value that more than the dollar that you can earn by trying to stay quiet? And I would actually challenge the fact that if you start to speak your truth, you'll find your tribe. Hey, I want to support, what was that, My Pillow guy or whatever that everyone tried to cancel because he was talking about Trump, and then he got 1 million more pillow orders, right? And so I think it'll do quite the opposite of what most people's fears are, right? You might have some squeaky wheels. Guess what? Everybody that's doing something right will have opposition. Like, how are you really honoring and having integrity and doing what's right if you don't overcome opposition? You have to be challenged. In other words, you can't have faith unless you have to overcome something.
That's right.
So...
Well, and then ultimately you're going to be stuck with yourself at the end of the day. Like, we're all going to die, right?
Yes.
And so you look back and like, well, what did I do?
Yeah.
What did you say?
How much impact did I really make?
That's right. And so it's like, this really does matter. Like, we really are being tested, and we ourselves are going to judge ourselves. Are you going to live with yourself knowing that you were quiet during the greatest spiritual battle in all of history right now?
Because you were worried about losing $1.
That's right. Yeah. Or you don't know how to do it. A lot of people don't know how to battle, and it's like, just put something out on your stories. I always say that. Like, if you're very passionate about this stuff, just throw it out on a story.
Go to Eric's social media and find something to share.
Well,
so you don't have to say it. Eric will say it for you.
I have 3 Instagrams because of this whole shadow banning. And so you can find me on all 3 of them, and they still do the shadow ban.
Different spellings?
It's just Eric Moutsos, Eric.Moutsos, Eric Moutsos _. I work a lot.
Because sometimes you get these spoof accounts and people...
I know. I've had a lot of those. I'm on Telegram.
Speaking of that, all right, so what are some of the lessons you've learned about, like, increasing your audience? You've done a really good job. You got a good follower. Your videos, you got some that are in the 1 million views. You know what I mean? Like, what are some of the things that you learned through this process that's...
I just really not...
Authentic?
Yeah, I just try to be what I really believe. And it's like, whatever, it'll take off. Sometimes it doesn't. So I just, like, it's a passion of mine. It's been a passion really ever since I was canceled.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I'm going to talk about this. This is what we're not supposed to talk about. I'm going to talk about
when you're technically canceled, you don't really have a whole lot to lose after that.
But if somebody came to you right
might
now,
as well, right?
And they said, hey, I want to start X.
Well,
I want to start a channel.
Yeah, so on my X channel, I'm at Real Eric Moutsos. I would say this. I watched this video where they were able to somehow measure, you know how you can, like, measure energy and, like, measure
frequency, energy,
stuff like that. Yeah. So in the room, the most powerful, what would you think is the most powerful emotion?
Love or truth.
Okay, that's what I thought too. But in this video I watched here. In this video I watched, the most powerful, I don't even know if it's true, but it did resonate. The most powerful, like, by, I don't know, 1,000 times was authenticity. So when you're authentic and you're like who you are, that's resonates.
Yeah.
Because you're only you. It's like you're the only person, like, in all of God's creations, there's nothing that's the same. Every plant, every snowflake that falls, every grain of sand is different.
Yeah.
So when you're authentic, that's what radiates. That's what resonates.
Well, I believe when you're authentic, what you're doing is you're honoring the individual that God made, and then people are watching that and drawn to it because there is a God within them, and they're watching you live out your highest form of self, which was created by a perfect being.
That's right.
Right? And you're like, oh my God, he's so authentic. And it's like, you're so like yourself. In other words, you're so like the individual that God designed you to be.
That's right.
Right?
So that's what I would say is, like, don't try to worry about copying somebody. Just, like, I see the news, I see what's happening, and then I give my take on it.
Yeah, your opinion.
How much of your like your product, your brand is dependent on it. Is that where your distribution comes through, or your marketing is that?
Yeah, mainly. You know, I've got to figure out how to scale it. Like, that's what I've got to figure out how to do, because if it could scale, it could go a lot bigger. But
just to piggyback on the being authentic and genuine, when I was on a call probably 2 weeks ago, there was a guy talking about that. He was saying, because somebody says, well, should I do this? Should I post this or that? And it was a group of business owners or whatever. Should I? And he goes, well, why are you asking us? Because all you're wanting to do is copy what somebody else would be doing. And he starts yelling at the dude. How freaking disrespectful to God that what you're trying to do is be a copycat of somebody else.
wow.
Go out there and speak your truth and be authentic.
I love it.
You know, and so that's where I kind of got when I was saying, hey, well, you're drawn to it because, well, I was talking to Corey and one of my business partners just yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was like, man, when I was out on a run, I was listening to this Italian girl singing, and sometimes when I'm out running, I feel closest to God and most connected with him when I'm out in the middle of nowhere, moving my body in which he designed it, right? Like, if you look at our design, we got legs and they go like this. And so when my blood's, I feel very connected, right? And I had this thought as I'm listening to this gal just sing. And I was just like, I felt really connected in that moment. And I was starting to think, I was like, well, why are we so drawn to greatness and watching people live out their greatness? What they've done is dedicated their life to extract the potential that God buried in them. And so when we're watching somebody perform at the very highest level, we're getting as close to God as we possibly can. We're watching them live out this potential that was buried in them by the greatest of all great. No wonder why we're drawn to it. No wonder why I felt connected listening to this gal perform at her peak. In other words, this gift that was given to her by the Almighty.
I love
right? It. And so I was like, again, I go on these weird,
I love it.
You know, when I'm running and doing all that.
So when I was doing country music, you know, because that's what I wanted to do a long time ago before I was a cop.
You got a good deep voice where you could do it.
Yeah, and I'm okay at it, but I had a vision. I'm like, I could do that. And so I started pursuing it. Well, I got a phone call from Evander Holyfield, the boxer, and he'd heard about me. And he said, hey, I'd like to meet you. So he flew my brother and I out to his place in Atlanta. And I was on his record label for about 4 years. And when I showed up at his property, he picked us up from Holyfield was like I don't want to say idol, but kind of like we loved watching the Holyfield Tyson fights. Fights at my house.
Yeah. When you're right around 40, you know, that was a big deal when you were in your teens watching the Tyson Holyfield.
Yeah, so all of a sudden now I'm sitting in shotgun in his car, and I look over and I see his ear bit off. I was just like taken back. He pulls up to his
It'd be so surreal.
It was amazing, and he pulls up to his mansion. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a dream, and he just like kind of stopped his car. He's like, this all started with a dream, and then because he's very, very God, everything. I mean, every morning I get a text from Holyfield, every single morning with scriptures. I'm like, amen. I'll send him quotes from like our
that's cool.
and stuff. Oh yeah, every morning. Oh, he just said, you are welcome right there. But anyway, because I try to, he's one of my best friends, and I'm like, I try to surround myself with people like him.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's all about exactly the process that you were talking about. Like, becoming who you were born to be. Yeah. He knew at 8 years old, Holyfield knew at 8 years old that he's going to be the heavyweight champ of the world. Somebody he said that a white prophet told him, he said, you're going to be the heavyweight champion of the world at 8. And he knew it.
That's not a coincidence either. I don't think so.
No, I'm telling you. So everyone was born, everybody has a very specific mission.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that if you want to find what that mission is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of knocking doors. Go knock them. Because I was really afraid.
It's on the other side of it.
It's on the other side of the fear. What are you afraid of? Well, there's a reason why Satan puts that fear, because he knows if you break through that fear,
yes,
then that's where the next level up is. I used to have this reoccurring dream all the time of these giant, like 100-foot waves come in, and I would just run, and inevitably they'd crash, and I'd wake up in a panic.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, God, what does this mean? Why am I? And I finally asked God, what does this mean? And I have the dream again. But in my dream, all of a sudden I was like, I'm dreaming. I knew that I was dreaming, and I look at the wave, and there's this really dark, really black hole in the wave. And I just had this thought to run through it. And I just sprinted as fast as I could, and I just dove right into the wave. And then all of a sudden I popped out on the other side. And I was just floating. And then I went down, and the other one came in, and I did it again. And I've never had that dream.
I've grown up at the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's something you learn is like, there's a point in a wave that's like, it'll crush you. So it's exactly that, is the intuition is to run away from it, but you're better to actually run towards it and hit to the base of the wave. And that's the calmest part of the wave. So that's a really cool metaphor in your dream.
Well, God showed me, it's like, no, run towards your fear. Like, go towards your fear.
There's 365 days in the year, and it says in the Bible 365 times, do not be afraid.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
If you look it up, it's 365 times. And I'm like, that can't be a coincidence. I'm like, it's one for every single day.
It's amazing.
How that synchronizes like that. I'm like, that's how my mind put it together. And again, it's a hell of a coincidence otherwise.
So that's what I think, that's what I think's happening with why we limit ourselves, is just we become afraid, and we're like, and then we don't do it.
Yeah.
And I've just been so blessed. Like, just speak up. Like, whoever's listening and you've wanted to just start speaking up. You don't need to, riddle your whole page to become like my page. But I'm just saying, when you speak up, my page is a disaster. You come in there and it's like, there's people that'll follow and then unfollow. Like, blah, 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 what is this? But there is like a tribe of people.
Yeah. You got your your base of people.
Yeah. It's like they think exactly.
Fans, right?
They think exactly like I think. And it's like,
but you say what they're thinking, right? So that's what I mean by raving fans, is like, they're like, it's like you're the voice for them. In some cases, there's people that are following you that think like you think, but don't say what you say.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fact. Now, there's going to be some people that also have pages and say what you say and share your stuff on their profiles and all that, and that's how it spreads. But at the end of the day, there's a base down there that's following nice and quiet, being like, and I wish I had the balls to say that, but he's right.
Right? So you put out X amount of light, you're going to get X amount of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, there's an opposition.
Correct.
So you're going to get resistance to the level of truth.
Left has right, up has down.
You're going to get resistance to the level of truth that you're putting out. You're going to. That's why you see some of the greatest men that have ever lived, like, what happens to them in the end? They get killed for what they believed, right? Just go back in history and look. And so you put out X amount of truth, then you get X amount of resistance, but that's how you grow spiritually, I believe, is that then you'll feel that resistance. It's uncomfortable, and then you realize, oh, I'm totally fine. And then you realize there's a whole bunch of other people. Thank you for saying that. Thank you because I believe the same way, but and then that'll give them courage to say it.
I was going to say, then you give them permission, right?
Yeah, and then you start to have like an actual voice to where people are listening to you.
Yeah.
It's like this Salt Lake Tribune reporter, one of the biggest bullies in the state of Utah. His name is Brian Shaw. He is just he claims that he's a journalist, but he's a hardcore leftist activist, communist, like big government everything, right? Well, he puts out this post. The state of Utah banned 13 very pornographic books, very pornographic, like gnarly photos of these cartoon images of body parts and sexual stuff,
like article stuff like that.
Well, he goes online and says, basically, hey kids, if I will purchase these books for you if it's okay with your parents. So I start to like look into the actual books and get the images of this stuff. And it's no one's really saying anything about this, that this guy is now offering this material to young kids, not saying, hey, parents, I'll buy this for your kids. Hey, kids, I'll buy this for you with your parents' permission. Mm-hmm. So I posted it. U.S. Senator Mike Lee retweeted it. Dan Bongino, do you know Dan Bongino?
Yeah.
He retweeted it. Jordan Peterson retweeted it. Thousands of people go to his page, and it's tagging the Salt Lake Tribune, tagging him. What's up with this? He gets fired in like 2 days. Now, I'm not saying that because I did this, but what I am saying is that your voice matters, because it's like that's how we correct this culture, because our culture is dying because people don't say anything.
Yeah.
It's apathy. It's they don't want to address these very uncomfortable topics, like a man or a little boy becoming a little girl.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, this is where we.
To me, I don't really think that that's an uncomfortable topic. That's just straight like wrong.
I know, but see, that's transphobic to a lot of people.
Well, somebody
by saying,
somebody on Facebook said something like about something and said love is love or whatever.
That's right.
And I said, I'm like, I don't know about all that. And I said, so you're okay with an adult being in love with a child? Like the whole MAPS, like what is it?
Minor attracted
persons or some shit. I'm like, there is a line, so where is it? You can't just say love is, that's bullshit, dude. You can't do that. Because then I was like, I'll bring this up. Let's see what he said. Well, that's not okay. So what you're saying, there is a line, and that's where you're putting the line.
That's right.
What I'm saying is I'm moving the line up just a little bit and disagreeing with you on this one side.
That's right.
When you can't just make a blanket statement like you just made, because that's exactly what they want you to do, because that's the next step is, love is love. Let's blanket it as that.
That's right.
So in other words, you're an asshole because this is love. And now we're going to start labeling it as, a minor attracted person or whatever.
I was posting about this 10 years ago. Same stuff. I was warning
You're
people.
Getting less and less nutty by the year, dude.
This is coming.
In terms of like society,
I just said, this is coming, and everyone's like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is coming. And the reason why this is happening, most people don't realize, is the people in charge, like your dad was talking about, that's who these people are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The reason, like, if you look into scriptures, they change the law to cover their iniquity. So in other words, they need these laws to change so they can feel justified in the behavior that they're doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. So in 2015, when this whole change the definition of marriage, because you can't change the definition of marriage is man and woman.
Yeah.
And really God. That is the definition. So you can't change that. But since that was changed by the government, well, now you can change what gender is.
Yeah.
And if you can change gender, then what else can you change?
Yeah, then everything's up for grabs.
Age.
Right? Yeah.
And so that's the slippery slope turns out was right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was saying, like, hey, this isn't a good idea.
There's a line.
The government is getting involved. I don't care if homosexual, you want to have a civil union, wonderful.
Yeah.
Don't let the government tell me that I'm a racist or on the same, because I disagree with it.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you've entered into my faith and now you've entered my belief. But I was trying to warn of this 10 years ago, and what you're saying is exactly right. And so that's why it turns out that having values, and there's certain truths, and to where we get to a point where a Salt Lake Tribune reporter is offering to purchase pornography for children, which, by the way, is against the law.
Yeah.
He actually broke the law.
Yeah.
Because if you offer to distribute, that is... So in other words, that material got banned out of the schools for being pornographic, and then he offered it to children.
Has there been a follow-up in that?
No, because no media will cover it.
So to wrap up, what do you think, like, the top 3 things an entrepreneur should be doing right now?
Number one for me is if you have a relationship with God, or like you, how you're like finding, like, you know, I would say find, if you know God exists, I would say the first thing is to repent. So think of all the things that you're doing in your life that are holding you up, and start
turning your back towards the things that are holding you back.
Yeah. So all the little habits or the things that you're like, I know I shouldn't be doing that.
Drinking, pornography.
Stop.
Whatever.
Stop that. And turn to, because repent, like when we sin, when we go against our conscience, okay? Mm-hmm. So our conscience is very important. I wrote a book after my police stuff, called Dispatched, Conscience or Conformity. You can actually read it. You can go to freedomblends.com and get it. But you could actually read it online for free at my webpage, ericmoutsos.com. But conscience, if you follow your conscience, that's going to lead you to start shedding things that you're doing that are holding you up. Cool. So I would say that's why prayer, meditation is so important, because those things are just going to come right there. Yeah. It's like, it's right there.
They're there, but you're not creating the space for it.
Yeah. So I would say start shedding those things. So that's number one, because then once you're purged through that repentance process, and I highly recommend in the name of Jesus Christ, because he already paid for that. He's already done it, and ask for strength. That would be number one. And then ask, what can I do? What am I supposed to be doing? And then you'll start getting these little ideas.
Seeking guidance.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, clean up your room. Little things, dude. Like,
so if you can't honor the little
things,
intuitions or hunches or callings.
Yeah, like right now, I just had that. You got to go clean it because my room is a mess right now on my side. And so it's like those little things. A man named Neil A. Maxwell, have you heard of him?
Oh, yeah.
So Maxwell, he said that God does not begin by asking our ability, but only our availability. And when we
he and I have had some conversations.
When we prove our dependability, he will increase our capability. So it's the small little things. So follow your conscience. Get the book, Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. It's unbelievable. It's so good. And The Anatomy of Peace by the Arbinger. Because it makes you look at you that you are the problem. If you don't realize that you're the problem, nothing's going to fix.
Nothing.
And then
now you'll try to fix externally through things, but nothing will fix.
And then I would say, because then I would say, and just be grateful, and I'm saying all this stuff like I have it figured out. I don't, but this is like, I know that this is a process, it's a process. And then what are you passionate about? Whatever you're passionate about, follow that. If you're in a job that you hate, what do you love? Okay, start to slowly transition into that.
Yeah.
I love to talk like this. This is one of my favorite things, to just talk.
Yeah. And you do it well.
And to speak and to think and to like get people to think.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me.
It's a privilege and a gift, both. Like it really is.
It's a curse, because it's like your mind doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you're passionate about, then if you've cleared up all those things, especially with God, if you like can have him take those burdens off of you, then now you can
run free
step
without the anchor.
You can step into your mission and then help other people as you're going. And I think that's the answer. And then it's just it's an eternal climb.
Yeah.
It's an eternal God is continuing to progress. And the reason why he's progressing is because of us. So when we're glorified, he's glorified. It's like our children. When they become better, we become better.
There was a fighter, a boxer. He was in the ring, and his dad had passed away, and the trainer's like, if you want your father to live forever, or so, they're going to talk about his son, and like, he was like rallying him up. He goes, if you want him to be forever remembered, you have 15 minutes left, because anytime they speak your name, they will speak his name.
Ooh.
Right?
It's so good. So, do you remember what Mufasa told Simba? Do you remember what Mufasa told Simba when he was looking in the mirror in the water?
Anytime you see you'll see me or something like that.
Remember who you are.
Yeah. In fact, I still as an adult will actually get cold chills when I hear that.
Yeah, well, that's God. He's trying to say, just remember who you are.
Yeah.
Just if you knew who you were, if you knew the power that was inside of you, like none of this is all just a matrix.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate coming here and talking to you guys. It's awesome. You're so close to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I honestly enjoyed this conversation. It's definitely up there in terms of the 300 podcasts I've recorded. So I appreciate you for who you are and showing up the way that you do. And, we could tell that you are authentic, and, just being in your presence and the way that you speak make me want to get closer to God, just in the way that you speak about him and the way that you quote scriptures, and, you could tell you're just a good man.
Well, I would say that I'm a very sinful person, but I know that he is good. And I know that he's the one that's like, he'll forgive, and he'll uplift. So
I'm not over here trying to say you're perfect.
Yeah, no. I
are shining a light in a way that will make other people want to improve or think, which is exactly what he wants us to do, right? And so I appreciate you for that.
Thanks for listening to today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I know it's a little bit different than the normal ones that we have here, but if you're interested in leveling up or changing for the better personally or professionally, go to joinrbo.com, and don't forget, make sure you're rating and reviewing the show and sharing the show with somebody that you love and care about. Keep kicking ass.